The charity was set up in 2015 and it was set up by our two founders, Professor Mark McGurk, and our other trustee, who is also our chairman, Sir Frederick Hervey Bathurst. Frederick's father had quite severe oral cancer and Mark was actually his surgeon. Mark and Frederick became friends, and when Mark was developing this new technology, they decided that they would found this charity together.
We have been pioneering the introduction of a technique called Sentinel Node Biopsy. The Sentinel Node procedure consists of injecting around the tumour a very small dose of radiation linked to a tracer molecule, it's an albumin. And that then is washed away in the lymphatic fluid, just as if a cancer cell had come loose off the main cancer. And it is washed down into these sentinel nodes, these selective nodes, and gets lodged there. And the radiation increases, and so if you place that person under a gamma camera, all of a sudden a hot spot appears at one or two places in the neck, and that tells us there's a sentinel node there, and then we've got to go and find it at surgery. Now, if we can find them, remove them, and they're negative for tumor, it tells you this tumor has not started to spread, and you don't need to do maximum treatment. So you can run your treatment down. If, however, there is an early cancer, it means you can get in early and start your treatments in an appropriate way.
So very specifically, we provide something which the NHS cannot do, and that is we provide training to the cancer units, and then we also added on to that provide the technology. The technology used to do this biopsy is a fluorescent camera, which is the last layer that sort of adds on and develops this technology into something groundbreaking.
And this is really unique to us, is that we've added another tracer molecule, but this one is fluorescent, and we inject it just before the operation, and so when we get towards the sentinel node in surgery, we can actually turn on the fluorescence, and it helps us identify exactly which node is the one we want. And the charity has used its experience in training to get units around the country to adopt this fluorescence. And that is what's new. That is definitely new. No one else around the world is using this as an adjunct to finding these sentinel nodes.
So I was diagnosed with a tumour on my tongue. It started with what I thought was an ulcer, and it was an ulcer that I had had for about 3 months. It wasn't until it got to 3 months that I then thought it was more than an ulcer, and it was at that point that it was diagnosed as a cancerous tumour. The traditional route would have been to have removed the cancer from my tongue and at the same time a full neck dissection, whereas the sentinel node biopsy, as Mark's spoken about, is a little less invasive. That sentinel node biopsy found potential cancer in my neck up here and also in my collarbone, so my first operations were in both those areas. So it wasn't just the neck, it had even potentially gone into parts of my shoulder as well.
Once it's integrated into the units, you now have the senior surgeons who have got experience on this, training the ones coming through, and so it's self-perpetuating once you get that critical mass out there. What will happen, which is slightly different, is that almost certainly this technique will move out of just the mouth and go into other areas of the head and neck, the salivary glands, the skin, the larynx, all those areas. As people get familiar with it, they'll adapt it to fit other criteria.
What I'd like to say to the Mouth Cancer Foundation for this award is thank you. You will probably not know the amount of difference that this will actually make to us as a charity and the impact that it will have on patients that are hoping to receive sentinel node biopsy. We're actually going to use that money for something amazing. We're going to pick a cancer training unit in one of the hospitals in the UK, and we're going to use that money to train them in sentinel node biopsy. That's a huge gift, not only for the practitioners working in the theatres, but also the local patients around that area. So on behalf of them and behalf of the charity, the Head and Neck Cancer Foundation, we thank you.